a huge move in San Francisco. The 49ers got edge rusher Chase Young from Washington for a third-round pick. 49ers adding to an already loaded roster. We'll get into that in just a little bit as the Commanders offloading some premier talent in this day already. Earlier, the Commanders' other coveted defensive end, Montez Sweat, you see, was shipped to the Bears. Chicago sending a 2024 second-round pick back to Washington in return. Of course, diving into this one as well, what it means for the Bears and also on the other side for the Commanders. The Vikings received quarterback Josh Dobbs and a conditional seventh-round pick from the Cardinals. Arizona gets a sixth-rounder in return, and Minnesota, of course, lost starting quarterback Kirk Cousins to the torn Achilles over the weekend, and so this makes sense, maybe fortifying them or giving them at least a shot going forward. We welcome you in to our show right here, and these guys are already talking it up over here. We got Adam Schefter talking with their eyes, I should say, and Mike Tannenbaum here for the hour. Louis Riddick will join us as well as we carry on, but a lot of news to get to. Adam, I'll start with you on Chase Young, as that's the most recent to come down. What do we know about the trade there?
The Washington Commanders are sending Chase Young to the 49ers for a third-round pick. Now, the 49ers have two compensatory third-round picks, one for the loss of Mike McGlinchey to the Denver Broncos, one for the loss of Ran Carthon and D'Amico Ryans during the offseason. They have two extra third-round picks. One of them will be sent to Washington in exchange for Chase Young. Now, keep in mind, Chase Young is in the last year of his contract. If he leaves in free agency, then the Niners get a compensatory draft pick back. So they trade a compensatory third and could potentially get another pick back for Chase Young. They add him to their defensive line. They're loaded on the defensive front now, up front, with loads of talent up there. And they've been trying to make a move here all week long. And it finally settled in on Chase Young, and it turns out to culminate a very busy day for the Washington Commanders.
And philosophically, it's all about up front. They go out and they sign Javon Hargrave, first day of free agency. Then they add Randy Gregory during the season. And now they go and get a 24-year-old pass rusher who has some health concerns. But, boy, he's been really productive this season. And I love the organizational alignment that it's going to be about the fourth quarter pass rush. And you can't have enough depth if you're the 49ers when you compete against Detroit, Philly, and Dallas.
We'll get Louis Riddick in here. I thought he was going to. There he is. Hey, go ahead, Lou. I think your mic wasn't hot.
Yeah, I'm here. I got you. Look, I'm telling you, look, this is an absolutely great move for San Francisco. Look, Chase has been fantastic this year as far as the tempo and the pace with which he's playing with, his get off, his finesse rush moves, you know, the way that he's chasing down the quarterback, and the way, you know, his pass rush win rate is, I believe, top 11 among edge rushers in the NFL. So he's getting right there. If they can just tighten up the coverage in the back end in San Francisco, both him and Nick Bosa and Randy Gregory stand to benefit from the fact that they're really one of the deepest pass rushing defensive lines in the entire National Football League now. So for Chase, hey, look, I said yesterday on Twitter, I said somebody needs to go ahead and come and get him. I thought Detroit maybe would be one of those teams. But you know what? It makes sense out there in San Francisco. This is just the way that philosophically they've approached team building. And now the rich get richer, at least along the defensive line.
Yeah, today's a day for Super Bowl contenders, teams that know they're really good, to add pieces, and for teams that are in a different scenario to offload some talent. We'll get into the Commanders side of this because it's pretty interesting, and I know Mike has a theory on exactly what's going on there. But let's get to another trade that happened. Montez Sweat, of course, traded away from the Commanders to the Bears. The addition of Sweat could be a huge boost for a Bears defense that, frankly, has struggled under Matt Eberflus, especially when it comes to getting pressure on the quarterback, as you see there. The Bears have the worst pressure rate and fewest sacks in the NFL since Eberflus became the head coach last year. Montez Sweat, though, has produced 69 quarterback pressures since the start of last season. That's tied for the seventh most in the NFL in that time. So, Adam, once again, how did this deal come together?
Well, this is a situation where basically I think Washington looked at its defensive line, and Chicago was of the mind that they wanted to bolster their defensive front. They have over $100 million in cap space. Montez Sweat is in the last year of his deal. They figure they could get him in there and try to get that contract done right now. And so they were aggressive in pursuing him. Chicago also looked into Chase Young, and I think they ultimately decided to settle in on Montez Sweat. Chicago was active at the trade deadline last year, trading a second for Chase Claypool. They're active at the trade deadline this year, trading a second for Montez Sweat. And it's amazing to me, in Washington, the strength of this team was thought to be its defensive line, foundational players, Chase Young, Montez Sweat, right? They're now departing. We saw how unhappy Jonathan Allen was a week ago. Can you imagine what that next press conference with Jonathan Allen might be like in Washington? But there's change in Washington right now, and this was a part of it. And this team knows it's got an eye towards the future. And today it pursued that, and it got back an extra second and an extra third-round pick.
Yeah, we'll get Mike's thoughts in just a moment. But, Louis, I want to go to you here because what is Ron Rivera even saying to the team this week? They have the Patriots, and after the entire team watches their best two players get traded away, I'm curious about what those conversations may be like.
Yeah, Laura, I think we all know that the players understand that it's a business, and they know that change is coming anyway. Those hints have been being dropped all season long. New ownership really do formulate, enough of a base on defense to where they can still continue to build around them, regardless of who was actually making those decisions going forward. But yeah, we know that change is coming, and there's going to be a lot more coming out of Washington. But for Chase and Montez, it's a new start. And for Chase in particular, hey, I mean, what a great opportunity to go into if you're him.
Yeah, Montez may be feeling a little bit different about the opportunity with the Bears, though, Mike.
Yeah, absolutely, because that's going to be a much more of a rebuild. And if I'm Chicago, I'm either going to sign him or tag him. But just going back to the Washington part of this, I'm pissed off if I'm Ron Rivera. I'm saying, Mr. Harris, you've been very successful in your line of work. Hold me accountable for our results. We're 3-5. 7 teams make the playoffs. We're breaking in a young quarterback, and this is the strength of our team. And by the way, not to go into too much of the details here, but with the compensatory system, they're going to get a third-round pick for each player anyway. So they didn't materially help their draft choice selections by making these trades. I thought Ron was actually doing a really good job this year, and I'm disappointed that he's not going to be able to see it through there. Because, guys, if we're in the Washington facility tomorrow morning, what's Ron Rivera supposed to say to his team? Hey, let's go beat New England when 2 of your best young pass rushers just walked out the door?
Yeah, the GM perspective there from Mike Tannenbaum throughout this show as we count down to the